Okay, now let's do this beautiful lob that just comes right around, puddles in the collarbone. It's over the ear. It's the same length or slightly shorter in the back. It's got this nice rounded taper in all the way throughout, but especially at the back, it's quite beautiful. All right, let's cut it. Okay, let's do a nice lob, like that long bob that just kind of like puddles on the collarbone is, you know, appears to be one length, but isn't really one length because we're gonna lightly round out the corners. If you see something that's one length and it's not a triangle, then it's not really one length. It's either got texturized internal layers or literally just soft rounded layers that don't read as layers because they just melt into the perimeter. That's what we're doing here. So we still have a little bit of layering for our other haircut, but we are gonna bring up the length again, like just collarbone-y. So I think that might be 2 to 3 inches off. So again, we're gonna be very careful about our perimeter here because that's the big showcase of this haircut is the perimeter. So I'm probably gonna take maybe closer to 3 inches off the back. So zero elevation is very important here. So make sure it's really nice and close. We do not want a messy hairline translating into our finished product. We want it to be nice and clean. We could, of course, clean that up, but we don't want to risk going shorter. So I am going to pick this up. 0, 0, 0. That guy doesn't belong. And I think we're going to end up right about here. So pressing in to not even give a finger width of elevation, which if you are resting on a finger, that's a finger width. Look for balance. I think we might be a smidge longer over here. Okay, and I'm gonna bring my sections down and everything's gonna be 0 elevation. I'm not elevating at all. I'm gonna elevate later during my layers if need be. So still combing gently down the scalp, gently but firmly. We want some good tension. We want even tension, not good tension. This is, again, for me, a medium tension situation. I don't really want to be forcing the hair to do too much, as it will bounce up and do its own thing when it's dry. Okay, so there's the back. Okay, we're working on the sides. So I've asked my delightful client to tilt her head so I have a nice smooth surface to make it easier to have 0 elevation. I'm bringing my little bit over from the side and I'm coming down. I might want to slightly angle my fingers forward to connect So that little bit's coming off the side. And then, all right, and the other side. Okay, again, I've got my little guide from the back, bringing it forward, trying to get these darn shoulders. Okay, is she tilted over enough? Maybe a bit more. All right, and now coming slightly forward, my length. Now we'll take a look. Looks pretty good. So now we want to lightly layer into the perimeter so we remove any options for triangular. So she has layers. I don't want to shorten these layers, but I do want to make sure they blend into the bottom. So once again, we're probably only going to cut to 3 o'clock because really this haircut is about the perimeter. I don't want to mess it up. If something's going on later when it's dry, it might be a texturizing shear event down here, but okay, we've got that. I'm not really going to cut. Well, actually, I'm going to cut that guy. That's a little bit of a point. And I'm just rotating through 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and down into the perimeter. So because of the layers we had last time, this is not going to need much. Now, if this was a 1 length thing, we would see, okay, so I do have a point here to address at about 230. But if this was 1 length, we would see a bit of heaviness on the bottom, and that heaviness, like that heavy hair is from the top, right? So if we're seeing chunky ends and feeling like it's a triangle, that originates from the top. It does not originate at the bottom. We do not deal with it at this elevation. It's the fault of the hair that's sitting on top, which is above the parietal ridge. Like that's the show hair. That is the hair that you see in long haircuts it originates from above the parietal ridge. Okay, not much tidying up to do. This is what I would do if this, and it's happened before. I've had, clients with long hair, long layered cuts. They then want to move into a bob or a lob, and you want to take those layers and not necessarily shorten them, but make sure they blend with the new length, the new shorter length. And sometimes just lopping off the bottom doesn't do it, and you can like elevate it a bit, can give it a bit more refinement. So let's see what we see here, because we do have a shorter perimeter to work with, and I think we will find a corner out here. So again, we're at the sides. We want to be very careful of our perimeter. And here I am over the ear. And then there is, sorry, I'm not on the screen. There is a bit of a point, not much. Next one, so nothing at the top, no surprises. Coming around, nothing there. But then we do see a bit of a point here. I don't know if you can tell. So I will just take that off. It doesn't look like a lot, but it makes a big difference. Like when a haircut just flows nicely, you can tell. And I don't think anything is going to be going on here. Nope. So I'm going to leave that face frame. I didn't touch it there when I didn't cut anything in this inch. So I'm going to leave it. Usually when somebody goes from layers to a lob, you want the face frame to grow in a little bit. So I'm not going to take anything off. Coming around, tiny bit, coming around, looking for my perimeter. Didn't see anything. So possibly right here, I'm gonna see something. A little bit, not much. So I'm coming up here. And just like the other side, I'm probably not going to need to take anything off. Yep. So I don't need to cross-check my face frame. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it. And we will blow dry this and check out our beautiful lob. So it looks good already. I like the way it's collapsing in and giving us that rounded shape. I'm not seeing it'd be too triangular right now. That could all change when it dries, but okay, here she is. We're not triangular at all. We do have that hint of layers that allows the ends to taper. I do like fullness in and around this area for a bit of a lift. I don't like thick, heavy ends on bobs. So even if somebody is like, I want my hair all one length, blah, 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 I will maybe gently talk them into some layers, and if they don't want them, I will do the layers anyways. So I'm not gonna do a big clunky bob, but yeah, so this is a beautiful lob. We just worked with our previous face frame, and this client would probably think their hair is all one length. They just see this, they see the shape. They don't know why this shape is so good. They're like, oh, every other hairdresser gives me a triangle head. And I'm like, wow, can't imagine why. So yeah, so this is the lob, which is a beautiful one length with very long layers that just serve to round out the edges. Gorgeous, I love it. It's beautiful. You know, not even a layer. Like this reads like graduation, but we elevated it up at 90. So we don't do these bobs like this. That just like enters you into world of hurt. So yes, beautiful.